Hello students and welcome all to another video tutorial from Genome Biotech. I would be your host Dr. Nitin Wahi, and today we are going to talk about certain other secondary structures of protein, and the secondary structure of protein for which we are going to talk about are referred to here as turns, and then we will be looking at the super secondary structure of proteins. So what are these secondary structure, what are these super secondary structures, that we will have to look forward. Okay, now see, when you look at the structure of any protein, जब भी आप किसी प्रोटीन के स्ट्रक्चर में देखते हैं, then what do you find in the structure of a particular protein? You find that in the structure of a particular protein there are so many turns and so many foldings which are found. If this is the N terminus of the protein, that means there is the NH2 molecule which is present, and there is another terminus of the protein that is referred to as the carboxylic terminus, COOH terminus. Okay, there is the amino terminus, there is the carboxy terminus. Okay, now this amino terminus is positively charged, partially positive charge, and carboxy terminus is partially negatively charged. Okay, so this protein is not a linear molecule. In fact, the polypeptide is being folded in several number of orientations. Okay, so this fold in the direction of the polypeptide is what is referred to as turns. Okay, so turn refers to folding in the structure of the polypeptide change. Now this folding in the structure of the polypeptide chain, which is referred to as turn, which is sometimes also referred to as loop, is essentially required to get the three-dimensional structure or the functional structure of a protein. किसी भी प्रोटीन के फंक्शनल स्ट्रक्चर को बनाने के लिए this turn or loop is essentially required. Without this turn or loop, you cannot form the functional structure of a protein. And my dear friends, the most important function of the protein is to act as an enzyme. Majority of the protein form such type of structure, and there would be one active site, and then this protein will act as an enzyme. This is the enzyme where the protein is going to act, and this enzyme is going to be having its own catalytic property. So actually this three-dimensional structure of the protein is essentially required for its activity. And for assuming that three-dimensional structure, what is required? We require turns and loops. So both these structures are essentially required. We require turn, we require loop. Because of these molecules only, we are going to form the three-dimensional structure of the protein molecule. Now, how are these turns produced? How are these loops produced? That we will have to look forward. Okay. So see what is written here. Majority of the proteins which are found, these proteins have a structure that is referred to as, majority of the proteins have a compact globular structure. This compact or globular structure which is present is, this is compact globular structure requiring reversal in the direction of their polypeptide chain. This reversal in the direction of their polypeptide chain is being mediated with the help of another molecule, and that is referred to as the turns. This modification is being done with the help of turns. Okay, now look here. Many of these reversal are accompanied by a common structure which is present in the protein, and this structure is referred to as the turn. So there are specialized structure which are present in the protein that is responsible for altering the structure of the protein into a compact globular structure form, and those are referred to as turns. Okay, now turns could be effectively remembered as a change in the direction of the polypeptide. Now, how I'm going to draw the turns, you have to look here in the whiteboard. At the whiteboard, I'm going to take a whiteboard and I'm going to draw certain turns, because here the space is too low. I cannot find any space somewhere to draw the specific structures of turns. Okay, let me draw the structures of turns here so that it could be easily understood by you all. So if we are going to talk about, there are basically four different types of turns. Okay, so one is referred to as alpha turn, another one is referred to as the beta turn, the third one is referred to as the gamma turn, there is the other one, the beta turn, and the third one is referred to as the gamma turn. Okay, so these are the basic three different types of turns which are present. So we are going to talk about firstly alpha turns, beta turns, and gamma turns. Okay. Now, please. Oh, sorry. Alpha turns, beta turns, and gamma turns. Okay, so I'm not drawing anything with that alpha, beta, and gamma. Now, the only thing that you must know about is that in the structure of the turn, something unique is present. What is present in the structure of the turns so that we can make the change in the direction of the polypeptide? What is present in the structure of the turn? That there are four amino acid residues, and these four amino acid residues are from A to D. Okay, I'm just making the annotations if it is possible. There are four amino acids. One is A, and then there is an amino acid that is present, and that amino acid in front of it is D. Okay, now there is a bond which is being produced. The hydrogen bonding is present in between both of these amino acid residue. I'm trying to draw an arrow. Okay, fine. This type of an arrow. There is A to G. Okay, sorry, G to A. Sorry, just a minute. There would be D to A. D to A. Yes, like this. There was a problem with my annotation too. Okay, so there is D to A. There are four amino acid residue A, B, C, D, and there is a hydrogen bond between A to D. Now, how to make you all understand is that there are four amino acid residue. Now, how I should take which tool to make you all understand this particular point. So see this. There is an A molecule A. There is a molecule which is called as B. There is another molecule which is called as C, and there is the fourth amino acid that is referred to as D. Now A and D is having hydrogen bond in between them, and this is the structure of a polypeptide. Okay, so what is being done here? Here there is a curve which has been introduced. See, this is the curve. This is the curve that has been introduced into the structure of protein. This curve, which has been introduced into the structure of protein, is being caused because of the introduction of a four amino acid residue A, B, C, and D, and A and D are having hydrogen bonds in between them. Okay, so that the structure of the polypeptide is going to be altered. Now see this. This was a polypeptide moving this direction. You add this particular compound A, B, C, and D. A, B, C, and D. Okay, C, and you add D here. What you get is that the direction of the polypeptide is now altered. There was the N terminus, there is the C terminus. You have altered the direction of the polypeptide. This is how the turns work. The turns work by altering the structure of the polypeptide by adding just 3 to 4 number of base pair, 4 amino acid residues, so that these amino acid residues have hydrogen bonding in between them. नहीं समझ में आया, हिंदी में समझते हैं थोड़ा सा. देखिए, किसी भी मॉलिक्यूल पॉलीपेप्टाइड के डायरेक्शन को चेंज करने के लिए हम 4 अमीनो एसिड रेसिड्यू को ऐड कर देते हैं, such that the first and the last amino acid residue have a hydrogen bond. So this structure will alter the structure of polypeptide and its orientation will be altered. Now look here, what is given? This is referred to as alpha turn. When there are 4 residues, when amino acid residue in between A and D are 4. A and D are 4, then it is alpha. Between A and R, beta. Between A and D are 2, it is referred to as the gamma turn. I'm just showing you all these things here. Okay. Just a second. Okay, now I've muted all the participants. You can only talk to me through chat only. Now please listen here. See, I'm going to talk about all these different types of secondary structures which are present here. I'm just deleting this out. Okay, now see this. These are U-shaped secondary structures. So how these turns are present? Turns are actually U-shaped secondary structures that are stabilized by hydrogen bond between their end residue. Glycine and proline are commonly present in turns. Okay, so there are two amino acid residue. One is referred to as the glycine, another one is referred to as the proline. And these are the commonest amino acid residues that are present within the structure of the turns, because they will cause the change in the structure of the polypeptide. Okay, now why glycine and proline? Firstly, glycine can fit into any conformation in the Ramachandran plot. Secondly, proline has an inbuilt turn within itself. If you look towards the structure of proline, you will find that this is the structure of proline. There is an H group, NH positive, and then it has a heart-shaped structure like this. So one polypeptide COOH group will be present here, COOH. Now see this, look here at the structure of this proline. So there would be one bond produced and there would be one polypeptide, one bond will be produced here, another one bond will be produced here. So this proline actually brings a 90-degree turn within the structure of a polypeptide. So presence of proline always brings a 90-degree bend within the structure of polypeptide. That is why proline was also referred to as the chain breaker in the case of alpha helix. Okay, but it is very useful in the case of turns because it is going to bring a turn within the structure of a polypeptide. The lack of large side chain in glycine and the presence of a built-in bend in proline allows the polypeptide backbone to fold into a tight U-shaped conformation. Turn allows large protein to fold into highly compact structure. Turn can be grouped into the following types: beta turn, alpha turn, beta turn, and gamma turn. Okay, so alpha turn is present in between two amino acid residue are hydrogen bonded, and there are four amino acid residue present in between them. Our alpha turns are characterized by hydrogen bonds in which the donor and acceptor residues are separated by two residues and four residues respectively. For alpha turn, it is always four residues away. For beta turn, it is three residue away. For gamma turn, it is two residue away. Okay, so if the hydrogen bonded amino acid sequences are separated by four amino acid, then it is alpha turn. If they are separated by three amino acid, it is beta turn. If they are separated by two amino acid, it is said to be the gamma turn. Okay, so this is how turns are present. I would like to ask you, I would like to discuss with you any query that you have. कुछ पूछना चाह रहे हो, किसी को कुछ पूछना हो, somebody wants to ask something, you can always ask. Okay, if you want to ask something, you can ask, because this is not easy. Okay, nobody wants to ask something. Okay, there is a student who has a query. Everybody has been muted. Everybody has been muted. Nobody can unmute themselves. That's not an issue. I'm not getting you all. So nobody has any query? Anyone who has any query with respect to this? Okay. Just a second. Okay, there is a query. Yes, sir. So please do write your query. If you have a query, please write it. Okay, let me move forward. If you are not having any queries, I cannot just wait for everyone. Okay. So now there are other structures which are also present, and those structures are referred to as loops. Now, what is this loop that we have to study? There is another structure which is present, and that structure is commonly referred to as loops. Okay. Yes, sir. In Ramachandran plot, protein are least exist. Yes, because they disrupt the stability of the Ramachandran plot. Okay. Just trying to find your terms with better diagrams. Okay, so here we are. If you would be able to visualize Lippincott in front of you, I was looking for this particular diagram in Lippincott because these diagrams are much better to what is given in Pathfinder. Now you can look forward. Now see, there it is. See, beta turn. Beta bands reverse the direction of a polypeptide chain, helping it to form a compact globular structure. So this occurs with the help of beta bands. Beta bands are the one which lead to the change in the structure of the polypeptide chain by helping it out to gain a compact globular structure. They are usually found on the surface of the protein molecule and are often included charged residues. Beta blend were given this name because they often connect successive strands of antiparallel beta plated sheet. So there are antiparallel beta plated sheet structures which are present, and they are being connected with regard to each other through beta strands. Okay, now look here. See, beta bands are generally composed of four amino acids, one of which is proline, the amino acid that causes kink in the polypeptide chain. This question was the one that I was discussing, that beta proline leads to the formation of a kink in the polypeptide chain. Kink मतलब कि एक stress ला देता है polypeptide chain में, polypeptide effectively बन नहीं पाती. But here the proline has its own significance. Okay, what is the significance of proline here? The significance of proline is there that it brings a inbuilt bend within the structure of the polypeptide. As it brings an inbuilt bend, so the structure of the polypeptide can lead to the formation of compact structure. Now this is referred to as turn. There are three different types of turn: alpha turn, beta turn, and gamma turn. Alpha turn have the donor and the acceptor amino acid residue separated by four amino acids apart. In the case of beta turn, it is being separated by donor and acceptor amino acid residue involved in hydrogen bonding are three amino acid residues apart. In the gamma turn, the donor and the acceptor amino acid residues are just two amino acids apart from each other. Now, some structure motifs. Now, what are these motifs which are being produced? But before we can go with motifs, we must look at certain other structures which are also present. Now, turns have also been referred by other names. There are several different types of names that have been provided to these turns. In the case of examination, in the CSIR examination, which type of questions have been asked from this turns? So let me just share my views here. So turns are also referred to as beta turn, hairpin turn, reverse turns in nature. They have been given several different types of names. So which are the different types of names that have been provided to these turns that we are going to look forward? Okay. Just a second. So I'm writing here turns. These are also called as beta turn. Beta turns. Okay, also referred to as the hairpin turn, hairpin turns, or they have been referred to as the reverse turns, reverse turns. Okay, so these are the different names which are being given by for the turns. These can be described as a secondary structure in which amino acid residues are present and hydrogen bonding takes place in between the amino acids which are present in groups. These are the secondary structures. These are the secondary structures used to revert the direction of the polypeptide chain. Okay, with hydrogen bonding, in between the donor and acceptor amino acid residue. Okay, so there is the hydrogen bonding taking place in between donor and acceptor amino acid residue, which can be separated from each other. Okay, which are separated from each other, which are separated from each other. Okay, so this is how turns are being produced. Now there is another molecule which is also present, and that is referred to as loop. What do you mean by these structures which are referred to as loop? Now sadly in Pathfinder the definition of loop has not been provided. It is not present in majority of the book, but you must know what are these loops. Okay, so loops are highly compact rigid structures. These are highly compact rigid structures which may perform the function of turn, in which may perform the function of turn, which may perform the function of turns in several proteins. Now, how they perform the function of turns in several proteins, that we have to look. They are also referred to as gamma turn and do not have regular periodic structure. These are also called as gamma turns, called as gamma. That is the structure of gamma. Omega, ohm turn, OHM, ohm turns, TURNS, and do not regularly occurs within protein structure, okay. Now, what could be understood with the help of loop and turn? Now see this, loop and turn could be described as the turns, and the loops can be described as the turning points of the roads in your area, in your village, in your town, or those which are present at the highways. What happens about the turns at the highway? The turns which are present at the highway have certain banks present within itself. I'm showing you certain structures. Try to recognize these structures. Okay. Okay, I'm going to show you certain things that you can recognize. Okay, now see, I'm sharing with you some other things, probably. Now see this, how can we describe the turns and the loops? Now see, this is a national highway. Now see, for in the case of national highway, we are looking at the national highway, what is going to happen? The roads are highly banked. The roads moves along a very long path to take a particular turn. And what happens in your village? In your village, there are roads which have almost 90-degree turns. Why do the highway roads do not have a 90-degree turn? No, they cannot have a 90-degree turn because the vehicles will not be able to effectively move over it, else they will topple down. Okay, so similar is the structure of protein. Large protein molecules which form globular structure have turns. These are turns, elongated structures, turns which are present. Okay, whereas the smaller proteins can have a very swift corner loops present. भाई बड़ा प्रोटीन होगा तो बड़े प्रोटीन में लंबा टर्न चाहिए उस प्रोटीन के स्ट्रक्चर को मेंटेन करने के लिए। छोटा प्रोटीन होगा तो छोटे प्रोटीन के लिए क्या चाहिए? छोटा सा लूप चाहिए। फॉर ए स्मॉलर प्रोटीन यू रिक्वायर ए स्मॉलर लूप, and for larger protein you require larger turn. Ankita, this is what I am speaking. For larger protein, see this, if there is a very large protein, then you require a very large turn to change the direction of the polypeptide. That is why, how many amino acid residues are required? Minimally you require 4 amino acid residue, one acceptor, one donor, and 2 amino acid residue present in between them in the case of gamma turn. See, this turn requires very large stretch of area, and this very large stretch of area is present in the case of globular protein, and there it is referred to as turn. When the protein is shorter, you can change the structure of the protein at a very steep angle, and this is referred to as loop. This is how loop and turns must be understood. Probably you might have understood, or if not, I cannot explain in much better manner than this. Okay, so probably you would have explained, you would have understood that turns alter the structure of the protein over a larger area. See how turn alter the structure of protein. This is how turn alter the structure of protein. Now, how loop alter the structure of protein? This is how loop alter the structure of protein. Okay, this is how loop is going to alter the structure of protein. See how many times the structure of the protein has been altered in a very small area. This is loop. This is for shorter protein. For smaller protein, smaller proteins you can alter their conformation with the help of loops. Larger protein you can alter their conformation with the help of turns. Okay, so this is how both of these molecules are different from each other. Now we are going to talk about another structure that is referred to as the super secondary structure. Now what do you mean by super secondary structure? Now, as the name indicates, super secondary structure. One is secondary, another one is super secondary. What do you mean by super secondary? Super secondary structures are the structures which are being produced by the combination of the secondary structures. So, okay, many globular proteins contain combination of alpha helix and beta plated sheet secondary structures. Okay, as they contain the combination of alpha helix and beta plated sheet secondary structure, so these are referred to as the super secondary structures and are also referred to as the motifs. Okay, so if you look at the structure that is referred to as beta alpha beta motif, then what you are going to get? You are going to get that there are two beta helical structures and there is an alpha helix present in between them. So two beta plated sheet structure joined together with the help of alpha helix is referred to as beta alpha beta plated sheet structure. You just look here. There is helix, loop helix. There is an helix, there is a loop, and there is an helix. Okay, so you can remember this by this using this mnemonic. ठीक है, there is one song which is मैं निकला गड्डी लेके रास्ते पे मोड़ पे एक मोड़ आया वहां से मैं गड्डी छोड़ आया. ठीक है, so this is how the process takes place. The driver is driving the car in his gaddi, and then there was a mode and the driver lost his vehicle there. Okay, so this is how the change in the structure of the helix loop helix protein is going to take place. Now there is beta alpha beta unit. There are two beta plated sheet structure and there is an alpha helix which is present in between them. So this is beta alpha beta unit. Okay, this is ninja of the Bruce Lee. Okay, ninja used to have two different rod like structures and in between them there is an helical like structure which is present. Okay, so this is beta alpha beta unit. Now there could be several different complex super secondary structure. Now this super secondary structure is referred to as beta meander. This beta meander is actually remembers the ancient Greek pottery design. Okay, when it remembers the ancient Greek pottery design, then it is referred to as the Greek key. Okay, sorry, why this sticky note is arriving. Okay, what happens in the case of beta meander? In the case of beta meander, the two antiparallel beta sheets are connected by polar amino acid and glycine. Antiparallel beta plated sheet are connected by polar amino acid as well as glycine. You can look there in Pathfinder also the information about these structures, which is referred to as the beta meander, the beta alpha beta helix, the Greek key motif. When the anti-parallel beta plated sheet structure are associated with each other with the help of turn in such a manner that this structure resembles an ancient Greek pottery design. So this is commonly referred to as the Greek key in its structure. Okay, now see, listen to this particular thing. Now this is how these structures are present. Now what is the use of these super secondary structures? The use of this super secondary structure is in the binding to DNA molecule. Now supposingly there is a DNA molecule. Okay, there is a DNA molecule which is present. Okay, this is the DNA molecule which is present. Okay, if this is a DNA molecule which is present and there is the protein molecule which has to bind to this DNA molecule, how this protein is going to bind to this DNA molecule? Supposingly there is a heavy protein. Okay, this is a protein molecule that has to bind to this DNA molecule, then it will use beta alpha beta motif. Okay, this will bind to this particular DNA in beta alpha beta motif. Okay, so it is going to bind in this particular manner, and then there would be like this. Okay, this is beta beta alpha alpha and a beta motif. This is beta beta alpha and beta, and this is the protein molecule which has been bounded to the DNA. Now this protein can effectively move over the DNA. Always remember, my dear students, all the different transcription factors are actually containing the super secondary structures present within themselves for their attachment to the DNA molecule. A very, very important point. Where should I write? I should write here. Okay, all transcription factors binds to the DNA via the use of super secondary structures. Super secondary structures called as motifs. Okay, so there are super secondary structure molecules which are being produced, and these super secondary structure molecules are referred to as the motifs. These are the structures which are being produced. Okay, this is how motifs are being present. Okay, now there could be several different types of secondary structures that could be present. We are moving forward. I must rub this on. Probably you can note it down. Okay, I'm just rubbing this out. Now, non-repetitive secondary structure. Now, sometimes the protein can form a random coiled structure. There is a coiled structure. Okay, this type of structure is being present. These non-repetitive secondary structure are not referred to as random, but rather simply have a less regular structure than those described above. There is a term which is effectively being used, and that term is referred to as random coil. The term random coil refers to the disordered structure obtained when proteins are denatured. When you denatured the protein and you are going to look at the structure of the protein, there would be a completely randomized structure of the protein, and that is referred to as random structure of protein. Now here we can look towards motifs के बारे में कुछ और information है. Let us look at the super secondary structure. So there are proteins which are being formed by the combination of the alpha helix and beta plated sheet structures, and those are referred to as motifs. They are connected by loop regions, beta blend. Thus, for example, alpha helix and beta sheets that are adjacent in the amino acid sequence are also usually adjacent in the final folded proteins. Some of the most common proteins are, no, this is not at all important. Now there is a motif, the most important and the most abundantly present motif. Now you might be thinking that which is the most abundant motif in the protein world. So which is the most abundant motif which is present? The most abundant motif which is present in the protein world is referred to as the helix loop. Helix is an example found in a number of proteins that function as a transcription factor. So this motif is the most abundant motif present in the biological world, and its name is helix loop helix motif. So helix loop helix motif is the most abundant motif which is found in the biological world. Okay, now we would be looking at the second last structure of protein, that is referred to as the tertiary structure of protein. Now what do you mean by tertiary structure of protein? Looking at Pathfinder here, tertiary structure refers to the unique three-dimensional functional structure of a globular protein. Okay, when you assume the tertiary structure, you are talking about the three-dimensional globular protein functional structure, okay, that is being produced as a consequence of interaction between the side chain of the primary structures. The primary structure side chain get interacted together with each other and lead to the formation of a tertiary structure of protein. This is the unique three-dimensional functional structure of a protein. So I'm writing it down. It's a three-dimensional functional structure of a protein molecule. Okay, if it is made up of a single peptide chain. Okay, so if the protein is made up of a single polypeptide chain, then the finalized structure is referred to as the tertiary structure. Now, can you name any protein that is just made up of a single polypeptide chain? Any protein that is made up of just a single polypeptide chain. Myoglobin is a protein. Okay, myoglobin is a protein that is just made up of a single polypeptide in nature. Okay, now after the class I would be sharing some very good information. Just before the end of the class, remember me, I would be sharing some information with you. Okay, the following types of covalent and non-covalent interaction stabilize the tertiary structure. Now, which are the different types of non-covalent and covalent interactions? There are several different types of interactions that are predominantly found in the tertiary structure. Now, you have seen In the primary structure, the most predominant type of interaction was peptide bond. In the secondary structure, the most predominant type of interaction was hydrogen bond. In the tertiary structure, the most predominant type of interaction are the non-covalent interaction. The non-covalent interaction. Okay. In the first and the second, it was hydrogen bonds. In the first primary structure of protein, it was peptide bond, covalent interaction. In the secondary structure, it was hydrogen bonding, and here it is hydrophobic interaction, the major form of the non-covalent interaction, which stabilizes the tertiary structure of protein. So if question is being asked, you have to answer hydrophobic interaction. There are only very few students who are solving their question papers. Where is our student Priyanshi? Probably she is solving some of the question papers. Priyanshi and others who are solving the question papers, solving the book of MCQ, you will get such type of questions in MCQ. Okay. Now there are other electrostatic interactions which are also present. There are hydrogen bond. There are van der Waals interactions which are also present. Now covalent bonds. How covalent bonds are being produced? Although covalent bonds are not present in the primary secondary structure, but the tertiary structure, as it is going to form the ultimate structure of the protein, so this tertiary structure usually can have several different types of covalent bonds present in its structure. Now how these covalent bonds are being produced, that we have to see. The covalent bonds production involves the binding of the two cysteine residue with regard to each other, leading to the formation of disulfide linkages in between these two. For example, you can look here. Cysteine has a thiol group, a sulfahydryl group present within itself. As it contains a sulfahydryl group present within itself, so these two sulfahydryl group can link with each other, and they could lead to the formation of a structure of disulfide bonds. Okay, so this is the disulfide bond which is being produced. This is the disulfide bond which is being produced. Okay, here is the disulfide bond which is being produced, and it is this disulfide bond that will stabilize the structure of the protein. The three-dimensional structure of the protein is being stabilized by disulfide linkages. As I have already told you in several of my theory lectures, that the first protein to be understood was which protein? Which was the first protein whose sequencing was being done? Insulin. Do you know that? Insulin. Okay, insulin contain how many number of disulfide bonds? Anybody? Okay, there is someone who is answering. Okay, good. Insulin, how many number of disulfide bonds are present in insulin, dear all? Can you answer this? 3. Okay, Priyanshi, if there are 3 disulfide bonds, how many intramolecular and how many intermolecular? Aarti, your answer is wrong. The answer is 3. Okay, how many intermolecular, how many intramolecular? One intermolecular, okay, and 2 intramolecular. Okay, now this is good. Okay, so they, in the case of insulin, you can find that there is one intermolecular disulfide bond, and there are 2 intramolecular disulfide bonds which are present. Okay, now you can also look here. Can you recognize this structure? Which is this structure? The Y-shaped structure. Y-shaped structure. This Y-shaped structure is of which molecule? Which molecule has a Y-shaped structure in the biological world? Can you tell me? Of course, antibodies. Antibodies have Y-shaped structure. Can you tell me how many number of disulfide bonds are present in antibody? So this is the tertiary structure of a protein, insulin. Okay, how many type of no, this would be quaternary, because there is alpha, there is the A chain and the B chain which are being involved. How many type of disulfide bonds? How many disulfide bonds are present in this particular antibody? Okay, okay. So antibody contains 16 disulfide bonds. Probably Shreya, you remembered something of my class. Okay, so this contains 16 number of disulfide bonds. So every protein which is ultimately forming its tertiary or its quaternary structure, it will have certain number of disulfide linkages present within itself. Okay, now you look at the hairs that you have over your head, not on my head, on your head. Do you got it? Okay, I'm just closing the video camera. Okay, so I'm not talking about my head. Look at the hairs which are present in your head. If the hairs are curly in nature, okay, if you have a curly hair, that means your hairs have disulfide linkages present within themselves. Okay, they have disulfide linkages present within themselves because they have curly hairs. Okay, this is the disulfide linkages. Okay, now something special that I'm going to tell you all. Now, see, you would have used something that is referred to as a straightener. Straightener used to make your hairs straighten. Now, how it used to make your hair straighten? It used to make the hair straighten by breaking all these disulfide linkages. You break all these disulfide linkages, you make the hair straighten. Okay. Now, there are two different types of straightening, as I have a lots and lots of experience with me. Okay. Although I didn't have hairs that much, but I have experience. Okay, so that means that see, you can break these disulfide linkages and you can make two different types of straightening. One is referred to as permanent straightening, another one is referred to as temporal straightening. Okay, if you went to a parlor and you can say, I want my hairs to be temporarily straightened, or I want my hairs to be permanently straightened. In the case of temporal straightening, what is being done? Temporarily, these disulfide bonds are being broken down. What does it do? What does the parlor person do? If you have a straightened hair and you want your hair to be curly and fluffy, then there are rollers which are being made to roll over your hairs. At the ends, the rollers will cause the hairs to assume a particular conformation. Here disulfide linkage, here the gel would be applied so that the disulfide linkages can be maintained for a particular period of time. Once you wash your hairs, the disulfide linkages, the gel is gone, the disulfide linkages are gone, and the hair becomes straightened. Okay, this is how straightening and curling of the hairs began to take place. For curling of the hairs, you should have disulfide linkages present between the hairs, and straightened hairs do not have disulfide linkages. Okay, so this is how the hairs have two different types of conformation. Always remember that the curly hairs, I'm not talking about Kangana, but you can take as an example. Okay, so that has a disulfide linkages present within themselves, and the straightened hairs. Okay, Karishma. Okay, so there the hairs are straightened. Okay, now next we are going to talk about another very important question that is given here. See, there are two different types of conformation that the protein can assume. Now, you would have heard about this thing that is referred to as wool. Okay. Now, wool is also referred to as alpha keratin. Alpha keratin. Okay. This is alpha keratin that is commonly referred to as wool. Now, wool has a very soft structure. It has a very soft structure as compared. No, sorry. Wool is referred to as the beta keratin. Okay, sorry. Wool is referred to as the beta keratin. This beta keratin is quite soft because it lacks disulfide linkages, as it lacks SS linkages. Okay, this is very important. Wool contains beta keratin because it lacks the disulfide linkages present within itself. And you have heard about the tortoise shell. Tortoise shell. The tortoise shell is the hardest material, one of the very hard material which is known on the planet Earth. Okay, previously this tortoise shell was being used as a shield in fighting in wars. Okay, it is made up of alpha keratin. Alpha keratin. Okay, this alpha keratin differs from beta keratin only, and this alpha keratin is very hard material. This alpha keratin differs from the beta keratin as it has disulfide linkages. It has S and S linkages. Okay, so there are S and S linkages, disulfide linkages, which are present, and these disulfide linkages makes the tortoise shell too hard, whereas the similar non-disulfide linkages makes the wool very soft. So you can see the effect of these disulfide linkages have over the structure of protein. The similar disulfide linkages will make the wool quite soft, whereas the presence of disulfide linkages will make the tortoise shell quite hard. So this is the basic difference that is present in between both of them. Okay. Now, there are hydrogen bonds which are present. There are van der Waals interactions which are present. There are covalent bonds, but the most important is hydrophobic interaction. If hydrophobic interaction is not provided in your question, then you must check upon the van der Waals forces of interaction. Okay. Now, moving forward, just clear my drawings. Okay, just a second. Now we are going to move forward and look at this certain questions which have been asked. See, the peptide bond is stronger than the ester bond. What unique feature of the peptide bond make it more stronger? First, peptide bond is resonance stabilized. Second feature of the peptide bond. The second feature of the peptide bond is that the peptide bond contains partial double bond character present within itself. Okay, and because of the partial double bond character present within itself, it has a shorter bond length and is much more stable as compared to any other ester bond, and the stabilizing strength is does more in the case of peptide linkages as compared to ester linkages. This is the answer of question number third. Okay. Coming to question number fourth, most cytosolic protein lacks disulfide linkages, whereas extracellular proteins contain disulfide linkages. Now, to answer this particular question, I would like to show you something with the Lippincott. Okay, so we will have to look at collagen, a very important molecule, one of the most abundant protein which is present, extracellular protein which is present in the case of vertebrates. Now see, collagen is, as I told you, it is made up of three left-handed alpha helix wrapped around each other in right-handed manner. Again, okay. So I've given you the example of hairs. Okay, if you make three chotis and you have to wrap them in the right-handed direction, then only you get a particular choti. Okay, or a ponytail. Now see this. This is collagen molecule. Now the next point that has been answered, that has been questioned there. You can look here. You can look here. Now, collagen is the most abundant extracellular protein which is present in the case of vertebrates. Now, there are disulfide linkages which are present. Now, where are these disulfide linkages present and how these disulfide linkages are being produced? Now, see, the environment in the case of cytosol is reducing. That is why majority of the disulfide linkages are always formed extracellularly. Most cytosolic protein lack disulfide linkage, whereas extracellular proteins usually contain disulfide linkage. This is a very important point. The cytosol has a reducing environment. Cytosol environment is being kept reducing with the help of adequate amount of NADH plus H positive. NADH plus H positive, higher concentration keeps the environment of the cytosol reducing. Okay, whereas the extracellular matrix has an oxidizing environment. Disulfide bonds form as a result of oxidation of the thiol group, and it requires an oxidizing environment for the formation of these bonds. So there are oxidizing environment which is being required for the formation of these structural bonds. Okay, and this oxidizing environment is always present outside the cell. So I can draw this for you. See this, cell has a reducing environment. This environment is reducing. Okay, and outside the cell there is an oxidizing environment. Oxidizing environment. Okay, so if there is an oxidizing environment, then what is going to happen? The disulfide bonds are going to be produced here only. Okay, so there would be no disulfide bonds that would be produced here. No disulfide bonds. No, no, no. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Now, quaternary structure. Now, see, when large number of tertiary structure are going to associate with themselves, then they will lead to the formation of a quaternary structure. This is, these are four tertiary structure: alpha, alpha, beta, and beta. Now, what you are going to get is two alpha helical structures and two beta just four alpha helical structure, four helical structure, two alpha helix and two beta strands, leading to the formation of a structure of a molecule which is referred to as hemoglobin. This is hemoglobin which is being produced. The alpha amino acid residues, which are 146 number of amino acid residue, are present in the case of beta chain. Alpha chain has 141 number of amino acid residue. When large number of tertiary structure associate with each other, then this lead to the formation of a structure that is referred to as the quaternary structure. Quaternary structure are being produced by the association of tertiary structure among themselves. Okay, and each subunit, multi-subunit proteins in which some or all subunits are identical are referred to as oligomers, and identical units are referred to as protomers. Identical subunits which are present are referred to as protomers. Polypeptide subunit assemble and get together by non-covalent interactions such as hydrophobic interaction, electrostatic interaction, hydrogen bonding, as well as covalent cross linkage. There are several different types of interactions that can take place. We cannot say which is the most predominant interaction. The only thing that you can say is that non-covalent interaction predominant in the formation of the quaternary structure of protein, such as hemoglobin, such as antibodies, such as insulin, and such as several different types of protein found in our body. But certain proteins such as myoglobin have only tertiary structure. These protein never forms a quaternary structure within themselves. Okay, now look here. So this would be the last structure of protein, the quaternary structure, the last hatch in the structure of protein, the quaternary structure of protein. Okay, now moving to Lippincott, because this is very important, the quaternary structure of protein. Just looking forward, just a second. Okay, see this, because there are three polypeptides which are present in collagen, so collagen also forms a quaternary structure. Now see, quaternary structure which is provided here. Okay, you can look here towards the structure of hemoglobin. Now in the case of hemoglobin, there are two alpha chains and two beta chains. All these alpha chains and beta chains are being coiled over each other, and they are interacting with non-covalent interactions, and thus leading to the formation of quaternary structure of protein. Look here, this is the just a second, sorry, quaternary structure of hemoglobin. The hemoglobin tetramer consists of two alpha and two beta, in which the number refers to dimer. So these two polypeptide chains will form dimer and are held together by hydrophobic interactions. They are being held together by hydrophobic interactions present in between them. And these subunits, this is a strong interaction, primary hydrophobic between alpha and beta chain, form the stable alpha beta dimer. This question has been asked in CSI, that this alpha and beta protein, which type of interaction is present in between them. The which type of interaction is present? They have an interaction that is referred to as hydrophobic interaction between the alpha and the beta protein chains. Okay, so these are the interactions that are present in the case of quaternary structure of protein. That's all for the structure of proteins. So we have now just a short remembering, just a short reminder to you all. The questions, the most important and the basic question is that which structure has which type of bond? Peptide bonds are present in primary structure. Secondary structure have hydrogen bonds. Tertiary structure have hydrophobic interaction. Quaternary can have several different types of non-covalent interaction. Second question that is being asked, in the case which is alpha helix, which type of alpha helix is much more stable? Right-handed alpha helix is much more stable as compared to left-handed alpha helix if the amino acid residues are levorotatory. If the amino acid residues are dextrorotatory, then left-handed will become much more stable. Okay, now calculating the size of this polypeptide chain, that can be calculated using the formula delta theta equals to 360 degree into delta z divided by p, whereas what you are going to get is p refers to pitch and delta z the change in the increase in the height of the polypeptide by a single amino acid residue. This is referred to as pitch. R is referred to as the radius. Third type of question, which is much more stable, parallel or anti-parallel beta plated sheet. Anti-parallel beta plated sheet are much more stable as compared to parallel beta plated sheet, because in anti-parallel beta plated sheet structures, full collinear hydrogen bonding occurs. Okay, that is why it is much more stable. Alpha helix and beta plated sheet structure found in the internal structures of the polypeptide, transferring the structure of plasma membrane, because both these molecules are self-stabilized in nature. Alpha helix undergo intra-chain hydrogen bonding, beta plated sheet undergoes inter-chain hydrogen bonding. Alpha intra-chain, within the chain, and beta plated sheet in between the chain, inter-chain hydrogen bonding. Causes the protein structure to be changed to protein conformation to be changed or its direction to be altered. There are others which are referred to as loop. Turns could be classified as alpha, beta, and gamma turns, depending upon the number of amino acid residue between the acceptor and the donor. There are super secondary structure formed by the combination of alpha and beta platelet sheet. Why these structures are produced? For binding of the protein to the DNA molecule. Tertiary structure of the protein, the unique three-dimensional structure that protein assume if it is made up of a single polypeptide. It's called a tertiary structure, which is the most important bond, hydrophobic interaction, not given in question in as an option. Then you take on disulfide linkages. Okay. Last, the functional structure of majority of protein which are made up of large number of polypeptide is referred to as the quaternary structure of protein. So here we are. We have finished the primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structure of protein. Now there are more than 20 questions given in your MCQ on the basis of primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structure of protein. Please do solve all those questions, and we are going to meet tomorrow here at the same time. And then I would be giving you some question assignment also probably in the morning that you must do. Okay, then we would be starting with the determination of approximate molecular weight of the protein. If you have any query, you can always write to me. Okay, so I would be stopping the class here only, but do not leave. I have to talk to you. Okay, so just a minute. Okay, so I assume here that the class is all over for today. We will meet tomorrow at the same time. Okay, thank you. Good night. Bye bye.